What's up, you filthy casuals, and welcome to the Casual Shenanigans Gaming Podcast, a podcast all about everything PC gaming related. I am one of your hosts, Germ Gaming, and tonight I am joined by Dave, the not-so-evil Viking 13.
What's up, guys?
I am joined by Joel.
Hey, folks.
And James.
What's up?
James is racking his fancy SM58 mic tonight like a true singer. Give us some of that sexy voice awesome. Quality right there, James. That'll do.
You need to sing our intro next time. That'd be awesome.
We don't really have a musical intro.
I'll write the
lyrics. You can sing mail time. Though we don't have mail.
Spoilers.
We for us anyways.
We had no mail this week. It's the second week in a row without mail, so obviously you guys don't love us and we're gonna kill ourselves. So let's start the podcast. What about that Avengers 2 trailer, guys? Did everyone see it?
Oh yeah. I sent it to James. I was surprised that he didn't see it before I did.
Well, see, Joel, I've been telling you lately like how I try not to watch any previews about movies I'm super excited about and stuff. It got me when I was weak. I was really tired last night and I saw something. Avengers 2 trailer leaked. I was like, okay. I just clicked on it.
Hope was outside. Door was locked.
Had a cigarette ready. I was like, it's time to go. And I sat there the whole trailer going, just a slow sound of a zipper sliding down. And we're off to the races. Anyway, what'd you guys think about it?
I mean, it's kind of awesome. I think my most excited part about it is not even the new characters added, but except for the villain. I love James Spader. Huge fan. He's just got a great voice, and we've been watching the show The Blacklist, and that is probably one of the most surprising good shows I've watched in a long time. It's like, did you guys ever watch that show Terra Nova or get excited at all about it when it first came out? Like,
nope.
Oh, really? That show it was like a Jurassic Park type of. It had an interesting premise, but it was literally just a random, stupid adventure.
Had one reason about being excited for that movie.
Soap opera.
No, well, it was. I don't know.
Who's it made by?
I'm old. Spielberg was one of the executive producers.
Okay.
He was on
that. Clarifying.
It had one of the biggest budgets almost any TV show, like for the pilot. It was huge because they had real big sets and everything.
Was it was it a 13 episode season?
No, it was actually 24.
24, really?
They finished it.
Oh, they finished it.
The finale of the episode was actually really good, but all the in between was just terrible. But anyways, yeah, The Blacklist is phenomenal. It's really, really good. I like James Spader's a great actor in it, and I don't know, like the premise is actually really good. It's not just a case of the week. It's a lot more than that. So
cool.
Yay for Ultron.
For anyone who thought that like it was dumb that Disney bought Marvel, we got that Pinocchio song, in the Did you guys notice that was the song from Pinocchio?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, nice. You want to hear some interesting Disney tidbits about that? Joy told me just last night. She was saying that
context for everyone who knows. Joel's wife, Joy, is probably the biggest Disney fan I've ever met in my entire life. So for Disney trivia, we can assume Joy is the authority.
Don't be afraid of a little shameless plug here.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna plug the app.
You can plug it. You can plug in a minute.
Plug it right. I can plug it in a minute.
You plug it right now, Joel.
I can plug it right now.
Go and finish your anecdote and then plug.
Okay. Anyways, Joy was saying that she knows that I was trying to look for music for my movie, right? Like trying to buy rights and stuff. And she said, watching the Avengers 2 trailer, having the Pinocchio, music. Even because, just because they're Disney doesn't mean like they can use any Disney song. Like between Disney, they have to like license music between each other. It's weird. He said it's just really interesting. Like even their own music, it's not like they go, oh, we own the Lion King because it's Disney. We can use a Lion King song in it. Like They have to like go through all these official crazy routes just as
they
like
probably
everyone
don't have
else.
their own record label.
Yeah, but it's like they have multiple.
Well, they have different composers, different producers, things for everything, all their projects.
But it's kind of interesting to think like oh, we just own it. We can use anything. Like I wonder if that's how Star Wars and Lucasfilm works as well. Like, can they use any Star Wars piece?
Pretty sure George Lucas owns the copyright to everything because no one was standing in his way. Guys, little teddy bears with guns. Yes, sir, Mr. Lucas. This is why we drink.
The Ewoks?
I like them better.
Dave, can't hear you at all. but you were laughing when you said whatever you said, so I'm assuming you enjoyed it.
Make sure your push to laugh is working.
Jeremiah, you didn't like the Ewok. When did you first see Star Wars?
User disconnected from your channel.
Let's get this out right now. When was the first time you saw the original trilogy?
I was probably 11.
Oh man,
I saw it in the movie theater.
Well,
so
no,
lucky,
the original trilogy.
I saw
User entered
Return
your
of the
channel.
Jedi with the Ewoks.
Oh
That's
my goodness!
awesome. I saw the re-releases. So
Time
I
for
saw
your
the
weekly
1997
James's old
re-releases.
post. Okay, no, James, when you saw Return of the Jedi, you were like 4, 5,
I don't want to discuss that over the air. When did it come out, though?
like 1983, I think.
Yeah, they did. Oh man, I was born in '85.
Yeah, you were like a fetus, James.
I still remember going.
I watched Star Wars when I was 6.
Mm-hmm.
First time, it was all obviously on VHS at the time, and then seeing the re-releases was amazing. That was such a huge deal. I remember getting James. Did you ever get the little collectible little cards? I forget where they were made by a lot. Almost into like
Did they come with the toy?
I think it was actually came through Taco Bell during the time for the '97 releases.
I don't.
Anyways, it was like a big famous card trading company. But I had one. It was like a hologram kind of one, and it showed the Jedi Temple. For what?
I'm just thinking, '97. You're getting like
It was like
you're
99
getting trading cards from Taco Bell, and I'm like
in
taking
college.
community college classes.
I think it was actually 99 because that's when the Phantom Menace came out.
No, Phantom Menace came out in '99. Yeah.
Oh, you're saying the re-release of the original Star Wars movies in 97?
I still have the original trilogy on VHS. There's a box set, and on the back of the box set, I remember as a kid, because I got this I think in '93 or '94. On the backs, it said, it was a little quote from George Lucas that said, can't wait, for the people, for the next generation to enjoy this saga and the saga that's going to be continued. And I was like, what? More Star Wars? And there was a little card, and on the
Little did you
VHS,
know.
on the VHS, and the start of it had this Leonard Maltin interview with George Lucas, and he says he's working on the next scripts, and that was like from 93 or 94, and I waited all the way until 97 to see the re-releases and there's gonna be new Star Wars. It was so exciting.
Looking at our live stream here
could not-
briefly,
Yes.
I was just going to say, for those of you just listening to the podcast, you guys are really missing out on how animated Joel gets when talking about Star Wars. Like, if you want to see some, like, childlike glee, just get Joel to talk about Star Wars for 5 minutes. I will bet you there's a VHS tape somewhere of Joel in a garage with a, like, toy lightsaber, like, making the sound effects.
I had so many-
There's
I had so
way
many Star
more
Wars
than that.
movies.
You have no idea. Have you not shown him the whole Star Wars film you made when you were a kid?
Have you seen the one that's on my YouTube channel at all?
Yeah, I've seen it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Jeremiah,
No,
have you seen that
I
one?
understand.
Have you seen that one, Jeremiah?
I don't know.
Oh,
It's an action figure film.
I'll have to link. Yeah.
Gosh,
But
I'll just have
I'm
to watch
sad
that
because
later.
the one I
won't
don't have, right? This is what
Yeah.
sucks, right?
Joel's
all you
just I can't.
All you Kickstarter backers, go look at what you put your money towards. Joel's directing his Star Wars masterpiece.
That was freaking awesome. Come on. My
the
mom
little
wouldn't
strings.
buy me an extra VHS tape. So one of the earlier videos I made, like of Star Wars, I don't have anymore because I would make a little film of the week. And if I wanted to make a film the next week and I didn't have any extra VHS tape left, I would just erase over what I did last time.
Oh, that's kind of sad.
I know it is sad, but I was like, as a kid, it's like that's all I had. But I liked that video. That was a good video.
Joel just couldn't stop the creative juices.
And yes, sorry to everybody who's tweeting at us. Twitch chat's not loading tonight.
Oh, I'm in.
Can you see me chatting at you?
I see
Yeah,
you.
I see you. Yeah.
I chatted.
It just connected.
Everyone
Technology.
bombard. Send us your chats. So anyway, their Age of Ultron. I think that's what we were talking about, right?
Oh gosh, the rabbit trail.
Yeah, I'm pretty ridiculously excited for it. It looks like they're really going the Dark Knight route, which I'm basically always okay with. If they do a good job. Most movies like to try to go dark, especially superhero movies, kind of suck. But I don't know. It looks like it's going to be really good. And Joss Whedon, I have a lot of faith in Joss Whedon, but anyone have anything else to add before we start the show for reals?
I'm not big into the comics at all. Like, I don't recognize a lot of the characters and whatnot, but I love the first movie, and the trailer has piqued my interest. So, I mean, just as someone who was really unfamiliar with a lot of it, it looked really good.
So,
the song and the voice acting at the end, so good.
Well, yeah,
like,
James Spader. I didn't like him in The Office, but he's a good actor. Like, besides that, but yeah, his voice sounds like pretty nasty in a good way.
Like, you can tell he's like a comic book hero, but it doesn't feel as cheesy as a lot of those comic book villains should sound. Mm-hmm. Like, the lines should be cheesier, but his voice, that was well done. I was impressed.
And we believe chat's working now, so if you guys could test it and see if it's working for you, that would be awesome. And
we need validation.
No, all right. That was that wasn't real.
I kind of said that like I was taking a poo.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I thought it was more like it was just like we enjoy.
Test the chat out.
We done something creative lately, Joel.
We like interacting with people. Maybe it was for that
being
reason.
Creative right now.
All right, that's so weird. Yeah, for any of you Marvel super fans, you may notice that it looks like between the news that's leaked about Captain America 3 and this trailer, it looks like they're really setting up the Marvel Civil War, which I am fairly excited about, and I'm sure anyone who really likes Marvel is fairly excited about. And with that, we begin Casual Shenanigans, a podcast all about everything PC gaming related, except
and other
when it
nerdy crap.
Small bit of housekeeping. We are playing ARMA 3 after the podcast, so if you have the mod pack, play with us.
Actually, free weekend this weekend if you don't have ARMA at all.
Yeah, that's true.
At least try it out.
But if you're wondering, like now, you're like, I could just get it right now and join you guys. You won't be able to because you need the 12 gig mod pack.
You'll need about
guys,
23 gigs of downloading between now and then.
We're not doing mod pack installation tonight.
Hey, Shadow Branch, someone else chatted at us. Chat works.
I totally thought
Waves of validation.
We need to make James's segment. His segment needs to be legit, and it needs to be like free games or cheap games or the news or the sale of the week. James, that's totally you. You need to have like a sale of the week. Like, hey guys, just letting you know that Bejeweled Twist is 99 cents tonight.
Well, yeah, if I was going to pick anyone to do that, it would be James because your game collection. You scroll through all the how big is the hard drive in your PS3?
My PS, it's only 500.
Did you see his game collection?
I saw his game collection of the PS3. She's like scroll. James, have you played any of these? I've played all of them. Have you beaten any of them? No.
James, you know what you need? Get a TV behind you for your segment. Do like a stock market ticker of all the game sales going on. And you'd be like, all right, guys, here's the breakdown for today's game sales. Look at the tickers going by in the background.
Those ARMA 3 codes are hot, hot, hot.
I don't know if anyone here listens to NPR, but has anyone caught the segment where they're like,
welcome
let's do
to the world section of the podcast.
Have you there's a part where it's like they're like, let's run through the numbers, and this jazz music starts up. I was like, that would be James. Then he could be like, well, we got ARMA 3 on sale for $4.99. Looks like the industrial average is going down by.
James can play the music that was popular when he was a kid. Someone just hitting a rock on another rock, but use what you got.
It's better than Pecor's music. There was just no music.
It was already old when you were just a little twig.
The galaxies were still being formed.
All right, we begin the podcast like we always do with the news. This first news item is not mine. I'm guessing it is Dave's.
It is mine.
All right, Dave, and I'm going to rib you for something right after this news item, so go ahead.
Yeah, this is an article on VG247. I guess we probably should cite sources on these, seeing we're not writing these articles, we're just broadcasting them.
Yes.
About Battlefield Hardline. And it's talking to the lead developer working at Visceral, and about how after that initial public beta that was really early on in the game process, they went to EA's new CEO and said, look, we got a lot of feedback from the fans. They're saying the game isn't taking advantage of its strengths, like the theme of the game. Like, it's still too much like Battlefield 4. We agree. I mean, the public has already made their opinion. We want to make it better. Can we delay the game by 5 months? And they actually got the go-ahead from EA's new CEO to push the game way back. And he talks in the article about how, for them, it was a really risky beta going so early. Like, their alpha period had just ended when that beta went live. It was the absolute bare bones version of the game. But from that, there's a lot of changes happening. I told Joel about this when all the explosives that everyone complained about. Like, there's too many RPGs for a cops and robber game. They're now pickup weapons. So you need an RPG as the criminals to fight against the helicopter, right? The cop helicopter, but if everyone spawns with 4 RPGs, that's way too much. So now they spawn.
You say that so matter of fact.
Like, so you need an RPG to fight against the cop helicopter, right? Yep, absolutely. I mean, it's in the rules.
If you check
right
your
here.
bank robbery manual on page 44,
when the helicopter shows up, you better have rocket-propelled grenades.
Right there,
shoot them off in a population center.
I know when I see
you're not
those
just
movies.
a thief; you're a psychopath.
I know when I see those stories in the news, I'm becoming desensitized because it happens so often, Dave.
Yeah, all the RPG helicopter chases.
Thank you.
I have to unsubscribe. Think how many of your freedoms you would have to give up if there was an RPG helicopter case in a major population center. We'd all just be like handcuffed inside our homes for the rest of our lives. The government would be like, no, too far, shut it down.
Are we going to start having campaigns against RPG and projectile weapons?
They won't work though because they'll still be distributed by California State Senator Leland Yee.
Call back.
And RPGA.
So instead of just removing the explosives from the game, which would affect balance, they're making them pickup weapons. So for the criminals, like, you have a certain number of vehicles on your team that have RPGs in the trunk. So we all know that everyone who
got
can't
that
fire
grenade
them,
in the trunk. You know what I'm talking about.
So we all know that everyone who
Her
can't
butt explodes. That's what I'm saying.
Got that
All right.
joke in your trunk.
All right, I'm done.
like the classic Battlefield helicopter scenario where the person who can't fly is the first one to the transport chopper, the moron who can't aim the RPG will be the first one to the trunk, but it's still better than everyone having them.
Wait, can I be 2 places at once?
You can be piloting it, one hand on the stick, the other hand on the trigger of the RPG, one arming it out the window.
The chopper's upside down completely.
You fire, the backdraft blows all the windows out of the chopper, everyone dies.
But yeah, the article is pretty great. It also goes into in-depth about how there will be a second beta so that they can put all these severe amount of changes in front of the public. And they've even gone as far as making a Battlefields 2 style change where both factions will have a completely separate weapon list. Like, there will actually be totally separate weapons.
Which will likely be reskins of the same exact stats and won't actually be that different.
It's an impressive effort, though. And that's why I titled this little article, like, I think Hardline really was one of the truest betas we've seen in recent years for, like, a major release. I mean, delaying the game to implement feedback is a pretty serious move.
Yeah. You mean actually using the beta period to improve the game? That is a rare and unprecedented move, and I can't believe EA would, they just care about us, guys. All right.
That's their tagline, EA, we just care about you guys.
And I actually have to swap news items 2 and 3 because I messed up and I typed 2 in. So, Joel, if you could just drop 2 after 3, 3 will become the new 2, 2 will become the new 3. Nothing makes sense anymore. You may have heard there was a class action lawsuit against EA for Battlefield 4, which, as you might remember, was a launch that was, shall we say, less than optimal. Even though...
I'll just make a note here. Any console game that at launch crashes back to the main hub of the console has some issues.
Could be worse. It could be like Drive Club, and then you get to opening day, and they're just like, where is it? Oh, it's not coming out.
It doesn't exist.
Sorry, we didn't know how to say it. We need to talk. It's broken. 2 weeks later, the PlayStation Plus version of Drive Club has not released.
PlayStation Plus version, you're free just for having it version.
But if by free you mean the version you pay for by paying for PlayStation Plus, yes. And you mean Drive Club, the game when they announced the PlayStation 4 and everyone was just screaming in glee the entire press conference. They said, Drive Club, completely free if you have PlayStation Plus. Well, like when it comes out at launch day. 1 year later,
than released it broken and then given everybody a bad experience.
They did, though. That's the thing. It was broken, and everyone did have a bad experience, except for the people with PlayStation Plus who couldn't play it. Period.
So some people didn't have a bad experience.
I think they did because if they were like me and they were like super excited to play it, and then they couldn't because it doesn't exist anymore.
Oh no, I hate consoles, but I'm gonna have rage when my favorite game doesn't come out.
All right. So anyway, there's a class action lawsuit against Battlefield. And a judge in the case ruled that the alleged false and misleading statements about the game were not actually fraudulent, but were instead just the sort of vague, optimistic noise you expect from the upper management of a major game publisher. Exactly. So the lawsuit claimed that EA executives knew the launch would be bad, but made materially false and misleading statements. And based on that, quote, issued strong fiscal 2014 financial guidance for the company in order to entice unsuspecting investors to sink their money into it. And the judge ruled that at least some of those statements were nothing more than corporate confidence. It does not constitute the foundation for a lawsuit. So there you have it.
I mean, wouldn't they have to prove like willful negligence and like willful deception?
Yeah. So the important thing to understand, like if you're upset about this, is you don't have to like it. EA did not prove they were innocent. The prosecution was not able to prove they were guilty, and that's how the system works.
There could have still been willful lying and just all kinds of stuff going on. It's just that they probably couldn't prove it if that was the case.
I have a really I wish I had the link to it now. I meant to actually add it on this like 4 days ago. I read a really, really good article about like when games get delayed, right? And promotion, right? Like the marketing team is completely different, obviously, than the developing team, right? Like whatever game may it be. It's let's say it's just ARMA 3, right? Let's just say ARMA 3 is being built and it's supposed to come out October 15th. Well, they get close and it gets delayed or whatever, the bugs patches, right? Well, you don't just like make a whole game, right? And like a week before it's going to be out, you go, "Oh, hey guys, we got a game coming out. Do you guys want to play it?" And sell it. No, the marketing team usually spends about a year promoting it, or at least gearing up. They figure out a due date because they have to promote it and figure out a way to get it out there. So the article is just interesting, and I think it brought to light again that, you have games that come out, and that's why sometimes games will be a little bit broken because, they are planning over a year ahead in advance of figuring out, okay, it looks like we're planning for December 1st. And they're getting really close, and they're like, crap, we're not going to be able to make it, or we're barely going to make it. What do we do? Do we lose all of that, promotion that we've, had to plan for? Yeah, so I don't know. I just thought that was just interesting. I didn't think about the aspect of, well, it's you have another company that's has to plan it for a whole year. They get the whole
company, but yeah.
Well, I guess it could be a whole different company doing it.
It could be depending on publisher and developer, but
yeah, I guess I wonder, like, what happens? Like, you have that train going of promotion. What do you do? Like, because once it goes away, it's hard to get back.
Yeah, you kind of have your opening window, which hurts games like Drive Club and Battlefield 4. Most people play the game in the first window after it comes out. So, hold on, everybody. I'm getting an ad. It's just decided to load, and it won't go away for 10 seconds, and I freaking hate everything.
Same thing that happens with like hockey games. Think of it. There's not a lot of hockey games that come out, right? So there's maybe 1 or 2 games that come out, maybe like every other year.
Oh, guess what? I muted Firefox, but it doesn't mute the ad.
Oh, mute Flash.
Okay.
Flash Player is like its own standalone thing now.
I freaking hate.
Quick sidebar. I actually
I
have had AdBlock uninstalled on my work computer for 2 weeks now. Today I reinstalled it because YouTube keeps playing a 20-second ad for a metal album from Solid State. I actually have heard of this band before. They're pretty good. But the album starts playing in the middle of like a double bass like metal solo right in my ears with no warning. And it like goes right to the full blast thing for 20 seconds and you can't pause it or skip it. And it's so loud. Obnoxious. Who would want that? I like the band. I don't like the ad. Ugh. Rant over.
Welcome.
You were saying about hockey, Joel?
Oh no, I was just saying it was actually on a podcast Beyond. I was listening. They were talking about a hockey game and saying that it's not like there's like a lot of hockey games coming out. Like it's just one. Like there's pretty much only room for 1 or 2 games very specific like that because it's not a huge audience. A game like that has to do really well, or they'll never do it again. It's not the game could be at 10 I don't know if it does like 8.5 it's got to be like a 9.5 or like because the small market that even gonna play it, that's why you don't like. I always wanted to have a really good beach volleyball game, but the market for it sure is so small.
What about Dead or Alive volleyball?
No, I didn't want to play that. That's just that's a little gross. It's sketchy. If it was dudes, maybe.
If they're all John.
I used to play the NES one. Do you remember that one, James? It was like, I forget what it was called, like
I
Spike
can't remember
Volleyball.
what it's called.
There's like pretty much
Power or
one.
something.
Yeah, I'm sure you played it before, but I used to play it all the time, and I used to play it on my Mac on an emulator all the time during classes.
Okay.
All right, so that's Battlefield 4's class action suit. Our next
Super Spike.
That's
FYI.
it. Yep.
Oh, yeah, okay. Up next, we're not going to spend very long on this.
Care about that, James.
Dave, you are considering upgrading your graphics card.
Actually, it would be a slight downgrade.
We're skipping the bargaining that we've been doing on Skype.
Temporary downgrade.
Yeah, temporary downgrade.
Dave, why don't you give everyone the 30-second, and so help me, I mean 30-second version of what you're doing, and then I have a follow-up that I promise is not making fun of you.
I make no promises.
I currently have two GTX 680s in SLI. They work very well 99% of the time, but I bought two different brands of cards and two different SKUs, which are not quite running in perfect sync. And usually it's ARMA or DayZ after a certain amount of runtime will eventually have graphical corruption and artifacting that will then spread across my computer to like my browsers and other open windows and stuff. And it requires a hard reset until the corruption goes away, and it's annoying. It usually happens like right when I'm about to like change games and start live streaming. Everything will start to get corrupted and artifacty, and I'll have to restart. So I'm looking at possibly going back to a single card for at least a little while and seeing if that fixes the problem. I mean, the two cards are great, just the two of them together, they're not playing well. So
My follow-up for that is, as much as I make fun of you, I kind of decided today, I think I'm going to get a 970. My R9 290 is an awesome card. Performance-wise, it's exactly the same. It's making my office so hot, and it's just pissing me off. I left I left ARMA 3 up so James could join, should test joining the multiplayer server before we play ARMA tonight. And I left it up and went to eat dinner with my wife, and came back into my office later. And for whatever reason, sitting on the server browser screen of ARMA 3 requires 100% of the GPU. Thanks, Bohemia. So I walk into my office just to hear.
Yep.
And there's that not burning smell, but the smell of like a car that's been driven at like 6,000 RPMs for an hour, and everything's just warm, like it's humid in here. I just hear like, why? The car's sitting at 85 degrees Celsius, just screaming away, and I'm like, it might be time for a change.
And I'm glad you brought that up because it's now getting cooler around here, and I'm not using my window AC unit as much anymore. So recording Total War in this last week, I noticed that as I got closer to the end of the episode, looking back on the audio track, one of my cards was at 100%, and the fan noise was actually louder than the AC is, like in the summertime.
Are we back to the GTX 480 problem?
It's not quite that bad, but I mean, the 680s are still hot and loud cards. And looking at the power drop and the heat drop and the sound drop on the 900 series, like...
But aren't you just going to, like, boost it up again? So pretty much you're going to upgrade, and then you're going to maximize the GPUs even higher, and they'll just be back to the same...
But they're lower wattage cards.
Yeah, even looking at the wattage, Joel, even if I do SLI again, like I buy a second 970, say, in, like, February...
Be a little bit less?
What?
Will it still be a little bit less wattage and power?
Yeah, that's actually
less,
the big difference with the GTX 900 series. They are a little bit more powerful as always, but they are a lot more power efficient.
40% more power efficient.
Yeah, that was actually a fairly big improvement. So for me, I wouldn't be changing performance at all, but I would just be a lot quieter and cooler, and I'm not going to lose much money to do it because I bought my R9 290 for a great deal, and they haven't dropped too far yet on eBay. So I'm basically going to be able to do an even trade and just drop my volume down.
Whoa, though. Does that mean you're going to be wearing clothes now while playing? Because I kind of like the shirtless playing. It was just all moist over there and sweaty. Like,
no one does.
ARMA 3. It's a jungle over here.
They have a blanket on now because the heat of his home.
Yeah, the only downside, guys, about getting rid of the 680s is I'll have to go through the same process that I went through when I lost my 480s and I sold those off. Is I have to call my power company, they have to put me on speakerphone, I have to inform them, guys, I'm getting rid of the graphics cards, there's a lot of yelling and crying, they have to go through a period of mourning, I have to sign some paperwork.
A couple yachts get sold.
They cancel some Christmas bonuses, some kids don't get presents this year, but Dave saves on his power bill.
But if you are interested in getting, say, an AMD card, even if they are a little bit loud, you may be in luck. News item number 4. AMD R9 290 cards, they dropped the prices of them after the GTX 970, 980 launch. The MSRPs are now $350 for the R9 290X and $250 for the R9 290. That's a really great deal because performance-wise, these cards are very close to the 970 and the 980. For quite a bit less money now, you can get a 290X for 970 money, and you can get an R9 290 for, I don't know, 960 money, but the 960 is not out yet, so GTX 770 money, I guess. That's pretty good, although my version of the card, my Gigabyte, is still going for about $320, but yeah, that's pretty cool. So if you were thinking about getting an R9 290, they have dropped in price. Again, you did just hear me complain that it's a little bit loud and hot. That is certainly true, but it's still a great performer card, especially when the price drops. So that's something you might be interested in. Now, whose news item is this next one?
This looks like Dave's.
It does look like Dave.
Let me check it out.
Anger. I can talk about this one.
Let's check it out, guys.
Go ahead. Yeah. Let's go ahead, Joel.
So there was apparently a developer who had a game on Steam, and it was an early access, and then it went to just full release. And correct me if I get anything wrong. Basically, he had problems with that, and it wasn't labeled correctly when it finally went through.
What happened
was it was actually labeled when it.
I'll cover the problem here, Joel. What happened was Steam launched a special Halloween sale where they were like posting one of those pop-up windows where you can scroll through like scary games. And his game was like number 3 on the list, which was exciting for him. He's part of a 2-man team that made this little indie Halloween game thing. But the picture that Valve used on Steam was still like the early access available right now screen. So he was very offended that his just released game was still labeled as early access on this big sale that was happening.
Yeah. And I can understand going, crap, you're big, a big time to be able to make some sales on a game that maybe you might not have any other chance because it was a Halloween specific type game. Right?
Well, it's a good thing he realized it's only a game and life goes on, right?
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. You say that, but maybe the guy was developing and that's the only thing he's been working on. Like that's what he's been working on by himself.
So it's a big deal. So what's an appropriate response, Joel?
Yeah, I know what an appropriate response would be. It should not be what that guy did. But I'm just saying, like,
no, I'm trying to tee you up to take a swing at it, Joel. I'm teeing the ball up for a spike.
It's obviously sending death threats to the founder. Of
here's the tweet, guys, verbatim. He tweeted after a couple of like really profanity-laced tweets about how Valve was taking money out of his hands. He tweeted a tweet that just said, very calm punctuation, "I am going to kill Gabe Newel. He is going to die." That was the entire tweet.
And Gabe Newell's robot army perks up. They're like, oh, yeah. Gabe Newell's got an Ultron or two stashed away somewhere.
He's got a G-Man somewhere hiding. Just waiting.
Guy shows up with a briefcase. It's time.
All right. So,
People are crazy.
And
idiots.
what kind of sucks for this guy is that for his partner, actually, he's part of a 2-man team. Their game was immediately pulled, and Valve just said, because of a threat made from these developers towards one of our employees, I wonder who that could be, we will no longer be doing business with this developer. So this guy has essentially, I think the day after, he signed over all the rights to the game that he had created with his partner to his partner.
They sold all the shares.
Yeah, so that his partner can hopefully get back on Steam, because it was either that or they both just get screwed. So at least he tried to help his friend out in the end, maybe?
Yeah.
He also he admitted that he's pretty much done being able to work in the game industry.
Other
than his wonderful comment of being about working in a 1,000-man.
Oh, yeah.
Say the word.
What?
I will say the soft version. Crappy. Working for a 1,000-man, crappy corporation making games.
Basically, he said that he can never put his name on a game again. Like I made this. He's going to be like hidden in some corporate structure.
A lot of luck getting hired somewhere now.
Right. His name aside, him saying that about the other companies that make games.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
They're going to hire me there. I mean,
That's true. He's kind of screwed himself on a lot of different fronts. Oh, man, after making death threats, no one's going to want to publish one of my games. I guess I better go work for one of these ridiculous moron companies. Am I right? Wait, why? Call me back, guys.
Call me.
Stupid saps. I guess I'll work for them.
So when you
Probably
see his
steal from
resume
them
in the
too.
stack, do you say, "I wonder if one of those companies"?
Yeah.
Not
We
you
are
guys.
EA.
You guys are too small and poor. You're not one of the ones I was making fun of. Yeah. He's going to be doing something not in the games industry. Just going to take a guess. All right.
Yeah, that sucks. Consequences.
I got number 6.
All right. You got it. Do it.
It's Dark Souls. So apparently, Bandai Namco, who made Dark Souls, and From Software, they're going to finally lift the Games for Windows Live ban hammer from Steam, and you don't have to use that anymore. But the only thing I am hoping for, that I don't know if I have any luck, but they are moving it over to the Steam servers. But does that mean the Steam servers are still going to, like, is the game going to actually work, or just you don't have to go to Games for Windows Live? So
Yeah,
I hope
the
it
game's
actually
still
means the
broken.
game's actually going to be working correctly.
You have to have Evolve installed to play with each other.
Evolve, and Origin, and Unity.
This was actually great news for me and Joel because we've been trying to play through Dark Souls 1, and according to Steam, I'm like 20 hours in now, but since like July, we haven't been able to join the co-op part of the game at all. It just has not worked. Since July. Like,
Yeah,
DayZ
the last
Experimental has been more
6 or
stable.
7 hours of playing the game has been just by ourselves trying to figure out how to summon each other.
Is that a
Yeah.
server thing or is that a game thing? Because when we tried on Xbox, it was the same way.
Well, we were also like now John and I kind of figured out exactly how it works.
We
So
were the
it's kind
same
of-
level.
Yeah, but we also kind of figured out. We figured out basically the thing that if you walk away a little bit and you come back to that area, it like resyncs and it shows up like really quick. And so that was something we were never trying before, and some other things we didn't know about as well. But yeah, I mean, for a while Xbox was work because there was the free version that came out, and the free version and the purchased one, like the disc-based one and the digital one, weren't working together. So now it just literally halved the community in half, and it's already an old game, so now you have a smaller community playing. But now they just recently did a patch, and it's working really well now, as well as Dark Souls can work.
And I do actually really want to finish the first game. I am actually enjoying the first one outside of the Games for Windows Live boss, which I haven't been able to beat yet. And your save games transfer over too, is the other exciting part about the patch coming out. In theory. Let's hope it works.
Yeah.
All right. Next bit of news. This very narrowly missed the Singularity Shame segment. Very narrowly. Far Cry 4 has announced its season pass. It's $30. Here's what it includes. Listen carefully. It includes a co-op prison break, a mythical creature hunt, several hours of additional content, and a PvP multiplayer mode. In case you missed it, multiplayer is part of the season pass. The
How
main
much is
game,
the game now? $90?
yeah.
Twitching.
The description of the regular vanilla game has no mention of multiplayer. The only time multiplayer is mentioned is in the description of the season pass DLC.
Does that include the co-op too, or is it like PvP only?
Just says
No one
PvP.
knows.
Now here's the thing. I don't want to sound like a hypocrite. Granted, I did not play the multiplayer in Far Cry 3, but that was because it didn't work. The one time we tried to play co-op, it took us an hour to get connected to a game session so we
That was
could actually
horrific.
play together.
Worse than Dark Souls even.
PvP worked a little bit better, but not that many people played it, so they've undoubtedly hit upon the solution, which is make people pay for the multiplayer mode. Instead of putting it behind a paywall, if you don't want multiplayer that bad, just don't make multiplayer and put the resources into the rest of the game, because Far Cry 4 is probably going to be a great game. And if people want multiplayer mode, fantastic, but just like putting it behind another paywall virtually guarantees that no one will be playing it in
Yeah, it's
5
funny,
months,
when-
6
when-
months.
Let me ask you guys this philosophically: would you guys be up for splitting the cost of games?
If the cost went down, I wouldn't be like.
Yeah. So if you paid instead of like buying Call of Duty for $60, you paid $40
for
or, you know,
multiplayer,
$50, and then you paid separate for the multiplayer.
I'd be fine with it.
I would love that.
I'd pay
Yeah,
$15
because I think about
for the
it.
Call of Duty campaign because it's very short, and I would pay the
That's
other
true.
$45 for multiplayer. But
No,
yeah,
but think about
definitely.
it. How many other games would you buy if you could just buy the multiplayer? Like if you if you were really into multiplayer.
But how many people would split costs and developers would actually make less money? Like, who would buy the Battlefield 4 campaign by itself for $20? It was a cool campaign. It was flashy.
I enjoyed it more than multiplayer.
It was flashy. The Frostbite engine looked good. Would I pay for it on its own? No.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, those are both good points. That like we'd like to, but
for graphics.
From the developer standpoint, it probably doesn't make sense to split it up. Like some of those modes are undoubtedly packaged in. It's kind of like True TV in your cable package. No one wants to pay for True TV, but it's there, so you'll watch World's Best Police Chases / cooking show.
Heck yes, I
mishaps. Will. Yeah. So,
yes, but at least with cable, you can get a basic package. You can't get a basic package on a game.
Very true. Very true. There's no over-the-air option. Well, that's called free-to-play.
Right, but I'm saying if you get, say cable, you can still get the local channels and plus, a couple extra, maybe 20, 30 channels.
Right.
For a very, very minimal fee, but you're guaranteed that you're getting rection.
That's really good, James. That actually makes me think of something even like Skyrim or like not Skyrim, Elder Scrolls Online or the Star Wars Online. There's a whole PvP like battle mode. Like I never get into that. I'm never good at it because it means hours of like trying to figure out top weapon stats and stuff like that. I would pay just the single player type regular part of the game and not have to. I'm never going to touch that. Same thing with Call of Duty. I touch the multiplayer every once in a while, but I don't have any other friends that are going to play it with me, so I only play the single player. So.
I think there could technically be a business model in this if you took your multiplayer, because I imagine that's easier to update than a campaign.
Oh, definitely.
Because there's a lot of stuff that goes into your campaign. Once you build that engine and you start building your maps and your assets, it's not hard to release a next year's edition with 10 new maps and different modes and stuff like that. So anyway,
all right. So as always, we don't know for sure until it comes out, and we'll see. Introducing the Casual Shenanigans Season Pass DLC, where you get the second half of each episode. All right.
We should do a pay per audio channel. You can only hear one person. You pay to hear Dave, James,
no
and
one's
Joel.
ever gonna buy mine.
Well, we have the economy version, which is just mono audio.
I know.
We have stereo, surround sound.
Stereo's gonna let you down.
Pay to mute, so they can pay to mute me. You will make a lot of money.
Can we sign up?
I'm just kidding. $5 a podcast just to mute me.
There's a lot of internal spending on our podcasts.
All right. Next news item. If you are like me, you don't necessarily want a massive monitor. You want a monitor that has high DPI. And up till now, if you've wanted a 1440p IPS monitor, your choices have been a billion different 27-inch models, or a Galaxy S5 or Galaxy Note 3 smartphone.
LG G3.
Yeah, the G3 smartphone. Those are your choices for an IPS screen. But now, BenQ, who makes awesome professional graphics monitors, has announced a 23.8-inch 1440p monitor, which gives you the same relative DPI as a 32-inch 4K monitor. Not DPI, PPI. The pixels per inch is about 123 compared to a 27-inch or 28-inch 4K monitor, which is about 165, and a 27-inch 1440p monitor is about 109. So it's a nice little bump up, and it still fits on your desk. There's no word on pricing yet, but it is 60 hertz, full 1440p IPS, so that's a pretty good gaming monitor. So
how does that compare to Retina, Joel?
Which Retina? When they first came out with Retina and it sucked, or as they've made it incrementally better and added new catchphrases?
Okay,
Retina Super Retina, Retina HD, Retina
HD.
Jobs Edition.
Okay, I have something actually really good to say about Retina that I was reading about resolutions coming out, okay? Mm-hmm. And I think, Jeremiah, you're up to date on a lot of this. Okay, so we have 4K, we have 1080p, so someone could say HD, right? Back in the day, 1080p, 720p was considered HD.
It is actually still
right?
considered. Yeah. It's still considered HD.
So 720p, 1080p, 1080i. You have 4K. You have Ultra HD, which is actually slightly different than 4K, isn't it? Like Ultra HD is not 4K. It's like close or
Ultra
something.
HD is what everyone is referring to as 4K. It's the way the scan lines work on video. They are slightly different. Yes. Ultra HD is slightly smaller than true 4K, but they're calling it 4K, so
But
that's
it's
just
medium
going to be something.
so that's all that matters.
Yeah.
But either way, now I do think for what Apple does when they say Retina, instead of trying to go like every screen, like okay, my iPhone 6 is just about the same as the iPhone 6 Plus. I mean, they have a bigger screen. It has a slightly better DPI and everything. But to the average person is going, I want to have the screen that has that sharp look, right? That's what I'm looking for. I don't care if it has the 1080p or it has slightly more than that. There's a different name for it. I think that is really smart. And so like, instead of just being retarded and going, oh, well, here's the 24p model, the 1440p, the Ultra Max HD edition. Here's the, it's just simple. It's the Retina. Like it doesn't matter.
I definitely agree. That's what Apple's so good at. Apple is great at marketing, and they've done an awesome job of, for people who don't know, yes, Retina sounds like, oh, Retina, it looks amazing. That's all you need to know. You are absolutely right. To people who know what they're talking about, Apple's super patronizing when they're like, the best screen we've ever made. 4.5% thinner, 2% brighter, 1.5% more battery life. It'll be $600. And people are like, yeah, I mean, it's better. So I guess, we have to.
It's right there in bullet points.
I'm quite proud. I just caught 2 fish with 1 hook. I'm pretty proud.
Basically, every press conference, they're like, remember the world-changing things we came out with last year? They're shit. Welcome to the new Apple. It's so amazing. You'll never want anything better than this. This is the phone that artists use to create the world. Next year. Remember that piece of garbage we put out last year? Yeah, you can forget it all about that. New hotness.
If you're still using that one, just go ahead and kill yourself.
Have you seen the Oatmeal comic about Apple devices?
Mm-hmm.
I love that one. It's like shows this guy. It's like I think it was with the iPad. It's like the iPad such came out. It's like, oh, he goes out and buys it. It's like so excited. He's like waiting in line. He comes back home, like he like unwraps it just when it's like and it's like the iPad 1S or something like that comes out. He's like, no, and then it shows the guy like selling his family and his kids. He's like out on the streets. This is horrible crash, but he's like gargling people's balls. It's horrible. It's so bad.
I don't remember that part of the comic.
Oh my gosh, I don't know why. It was just like this is horrible.
Isn't the last frame, Joel? Like, he's like buying like the edition 7.
Well, yeah, he got the 1S, and it was like just as he opens that, it was like the 1S too. And it was it's great because then he just kills himself.
One of the last panels, he's like checking out for like the version 7, and like the truck delivery guy is like going by like, hey, where should I put these version 8s? And like, he's like wheeling in a new pallet as the guy's like about to swipe his credit card.
You have to admit that the S is a little patronizing.
Oh, it
It's
definitely
like-
is.
It's like, we just released the best phone ever, but now we made it just a little bit better. We could've done it
Yeah,
last
the S
time,
is
but
always
now you
like
get
the
better version.
The S is basically the, so guys, when we put out the new version last year, there was some stuff that was kind of broken. Remember all that stuff that didn't work and people complain about? It's all fixed now, and it's also a tiny bit thinner because that's what you guys expect from us, so you can go ahead and pay full price for the repair. Thank you.
It's actually a really, really smart move.
Oh, it's made them tons of
and they do
money.
that- they
It's
do
just
that in games,
patronizing
too.
to people who know what they're doing.
It's smart.
Do you know when they do that in games?
Yeah,
You tell me-
Madden every year, Call of Duty every year, every sports game
no,
every year.
Every sports game.
No, I was gonna say they do that a lot in certain games, like Gears of War, right? Like in between official numbered games, like not having official number allows you to try things that are not officially connected to a number of the game. So like they can try to be risky and try something that might be crazy and people not like, and then the next game might not have it because people don't like it. So instead of Apple whipping out they have a long development cycle for every one of their phones. So instead of having a brand new massive redone, they let that phone live for 2 years. So rather than just whipping out a brand new,
Well, they have to
technology
because
every single
most people are on 2-year contracts because they can't actually afford to buy these $700 phones unsubsidized.
They're not $700.
Yes, they are.
Who pays $700 for a phone?
People who upgrade every year.
Have
and
you,
guess what?
Have you spent $700 on a phone?
No, because I'm not a moron.
Dave, have you spent $700 on a phone?
Also not a moron.
I don't think James has spent $400 on it.
Right, because we're
Tell me
not
one person you
morons.
know that has bought a phone for $700. I don't know one person.
A lot of people do because a lot of people now are doing the monthly payment
Subsidized.
plans, the no unsubsidized, where basically you roll it into the price of your
I would
monthly
say it's
bill.
a very small amount of people.
No, Joel,
but sometimes you get
thousands
changed
of
up.
people do it every single, like the hardcore Apple fans, and there's hardcore Android fans.
Thousands out of millions of people?
Well,
Just
you're saying
thousands?
who
So
does it?
much.
Who
You
does
said
it?
you don't know anybody. Thousands is a
I
lot
don't
more
know
than
anybody.
zero.
I know, but I'm saying that you're making it sound like it's a huge, gigantic group of people spending $700 for a phone.
Thousands is a pretty substantial group of people to do
Compared to
anything.
millions,
stupid.
that's like that's like maybe.
Joel,
I would say
2%.
Why don't you
hundreds
go?
of
Why don't you go to?
thousands.
Why don't you go to a phone store and ask them how many people do these re-ups or the whatever plan? Verizon has a plan, Sprint has
I
a
will
plan,
do that.
T-Mobile has
I
a
will
plan,
ask them.
AT&T have plans. They all have plans now to where you just pay a portion of your monthly bill to include the price of your phone, as opposed
Yeah,
to
I know what you're talking
Okay,
about.
all right, Joel. Here are
I just never heard of anyone that I know personally. I mean, like my brother, he doesn't do it. My sister doesn't do it.
Your brother doesn't do it
I mean-
because he gets it free every 10 seconds.
That's true. I'm like, do you guys know of anyone?
Yes, I
no,
do.
I don't. I know a couple people who have bought them off contract, like for full price, but it wasn't ever because, like, it wasn't right when it came out. It was they broke their phone, and instead of taking the cheap replacement, they were like, "Screw it! I guess it's a good time to hand out $800."
Well, I guess it just makes you laugh when you guys so it's a $700 thing. I'm like, you do realize how much those Android phones too are out of contract.
No, I agree.
They're expensive too. It's not like
They are.
Oh, iPhone's the only one that costs a lot.
Actually,
Like, these are
Joel,
really expensive
I
piece
paid
of technology.
$389 for my phone with no contract unlocked.
I was going to follow that up. Android
much
ones
is
are
yours?
a bit cheaper.
$380.
Well, yeah. Well, they're made out of cheaper.
The Nexus 5 is actually extremely
the Nexus
nice.
5 is cheap.
Yeah,
Joel-
very high
Joel-
quality of the build.
It is one of the cheaper of the high-end phones, but it's still
It's a great-
not
it's a great
Joel,
phone.
you know
I'm
there are
saying,
Android
yeah.
phones that are made out of like aluminum and all the like the really high quality materials that iPhones are made out of. You know they make plenty of Android phones out of those as well, right?
You know, they're made by a lot of third party, just tons of third party.
And I'm sorry,
Right.
iPhones.
yeah, like
iPhone isn't?
Foxconn, who makes
A
all
very
of
small
Apple's
amount,
crap.
very small.
I'm sorry,
They
does
do almost
Samsung not
everything
make
from
stuff
scratch.
for Apple?
No,
Like the screens.
I'm sorry.
not as much
Who
as
makes Apple
wait,
stuff? Foxconn?
Apple-
does
does Apple
Foxconn do it? Foxconn does. Oh, okay, that's
Apple-
weird.
I know that. I didn't say all. I said Androids are pretty much entirely all sorted out by other
Like
companies.
all of the iPhone, which is made by
No, it
Foxconn.
isn't. I'll show you an article. I'll show you an article.
While he's finding
Wait,
that,
guys, I'm going to get popcorn. Hold on.
the iPhone 6 unsubsidized prices: the 16 gigabyte version without a contract, $650; the 64 gig version, $750; the 128 gig version.
Hold on, guys. I have to stop you guys right
$850.
now. Do you know who made the A8 processor, Joel?
I don't know offhand.
Samsung.
Yeah, I know other parts
That's the
of it
main
is made.
core component of the
I'm
iPhone, except the screen, which is also third party.
iPhone 6 without contract, $950. $950 for a
Look,
6
the-
plus 128
The
gig.
new deal with Sprint right now is you get a $50 a month plan, and you can get the phone, but you do the monthly payment on the phone.
So you guys think both an Apple and just the Android Nexus, they have the exact same type of development. They are all built in-house or are completely sorted out by other companies. No,
I
I'm
don't
saying
think any
Apple
of us
is
claimed
way
any of that.
more in-house.
Nobody
than
said that.
other
You're the only
phones
one
are.
that claimed
That's
that
all
they
I'm
did a lot of
saying.
stuff
I didn't say it
in-house.
was. I didn't say it was completely. I didn't say that. I said a lot more.
No, you said most of their components. I just named the most important components.
Okay, so
Processors
yeah,
and
they're
screens.
the
I'm sorry.
big they're
Do
big
they not make the
components, but
little
they're not everything.
apple that goes on the back and on they make the packaging
Yeah,
and the insert
here's a
leaflets and all
Back
that
up, James.
stuff.
Back
Here's
up,
a controller.
James. She
Here's a
peeking,
controller.
baby. She peeking.
This whole piece is one giant piece, but there's also like 1,000 other pieces inside of it too. So yeah,
That's not even one piece. It's two pieces.
Okay, we're not. That's semantics. We're not doing that.
You know what I'm talking about. I'm just saying.
I think it's
for
like
the most part,
3
Apple
pieces.
does do so much.
Your
in-house
argument is
that
invalid.
Commend them.
No, I will.
That's straight up true. Like that.
No,
That's,
I'll give you
I'm
that.
saying
Apple,
from
their
reading
R&D, their R&D is very in-house and very
that's all I'm
secretive.
talking about.
But Google also
they
does a lot of the
meet. They
same
do
stuff.
meet with their manufacturers like Samsung to discuss how to make their chips.
While Apple and Samsung aren't in the middle of suing each other, how does that work? They're suing each other back and forth nonstop.
It is a weird abusive
while
relationship.
they buy parts from each other. They're like, okay, now that we finish up the lawsuit meeting. Good price on those screens, guys. Samsung's like, yeah, bend over, and they're like, that's fine.
actually,
We'll just
have you
jack the
guys
price
read-
up. iPhone customers will pay it.
Have you guys actually read about why like the details of how that lawsuit started. It's actually really fascinating. I would actually definitely vote for Apple on this one.
Really fascinating.
Yeah,
Want to read about tort reform?
None of us have heard about it, but it's fascinating.
It was a lot of patent stuff, but basically, the long story is like Samsung has a horrible history of stealing from everyone. Everybody has sued Samsung, and for good reason.
And Apple does the same thing.
And when it came to Apple, basically Samsung used all these connections that they had to steal everything they could get their hands on from Apple. But they've been doing it for forever. The amount of times that they have been smacked down by the government in South Korea, it's insane.
All right, next news item. And I think, guys, we're gonna have to put off the main topic till next week. I think because we're like halfway.
I got my money's worth out of that.
We're like halfway through the news. We still got a lot to go through.
James is just here to put out the bait.
Was that like a $3 over a period of like 15 minutes? Not too bad.
If you see me just walk out and go get a bag of popcorn, don't be surprised.
Now,
I almost did.
Final note on that. One of the reasons unsubsidized phones are so expensive is a lot of that is paying for court fees and licensing costs for all the technology everyone's stolen from each other. So if you wonder why do your stuff cost so much, it's because people are dicks. All right, next news item. If you are a fan of Nvidia Dynamic Super Resolution, which is a stupid name, which is basically...
What an awful name. Why couldn't they call it, like, up-rendering?
Why couldn't they call it Retina? Dynamic Super Retina.
Super Retina HD.
Retina graphics. Dynamic Super Resolution lets you upscale your games using the GPU. Like, if the game doesn't have an option for upscaling in it, which a lot of games don't, that's kind of a very PC-specific option. So most ports don't have this option. And Nvidia has just released a driver that now all GTX 500, 600, and 700 series desktop graphics cards can run their games at up to 4K and then downsample to 1080p to play. So you can't like run at 8K and downsample to 4K if you have a 4K monitor. Not that you could be gaming at 8K anyway, unless you're from the future. But yeah, so the GeForce Experience app will let you do that. It's called DSR. So if you want that, go check out the version of the drivers.
Features of the 900 series.
It was. Well, it was more a feature of the patch or the drivers. But
they listed it when they were doing their event, when they unveiled it. They were talking about that as one of the big features.
But I think it's cool of them to roll it out for like the previous versions. You know, they probably realized, hey guys, there's nothing stopping us from doing this. Let's just let's let everyone get it. So there's that. And then our last normal news item, Assassin's Creed Unity has very high PC requirements. Whose news item was this?
This one is actually mine. Did you guys hear
Dave.
about this?
Can you actually say it verbatim? It has what? Insanely high PC requirements.
Insanely high. All right, guys. I'm going to read you the minimum PC requirements for Assassin's Creed Unity.
Now, you do know this is a full only next-gen game. Just letting you guys know that.
Yes, Joel. I am aware.
Just keep that in mind. Just keep that in mind.
You shut your apple loving mouth.
Yeah, Joel,
right.
even if we keep that in mind, this is still kind of ridiculous. So next gen only would be like Radeon 7870 GTX 580 and up. Okay? That would be like next gen only. All right.
Okay, minimum requirements. 64-bit OS. Sure. We're in a modern generation of operating systems. A Intel Core i5 2500K at 3.3 gigahertz or better. Recommended Intel Core i7 3770. Minimum memory, 6 gigabytes. Recommended 8. Minimum video card, Nvidia GeForce GTX 680. Minimum. DirectX 11, 50 gigabytes of hard drive space.
Why, guys? Just compress the cutscenes, okay? Compress the cutscenes. I don't care anymore.
Those are the minimum requirements. Recommended requirements get even better. If I can find them, I have just totally lost them.
Recommended GPU, GTX 780.
Thank you. There it is. Oh,
or R9
man.
290X. Their recommended graphics card is the best single GPU that AMD makes.
So that's basically Ubisoft's screw you to PC gamers. We don't have time to optimize your version of the game.
Yeah, that's basically
Just
what they're saying
brute
is
force it.
Assassin's Creed Unity, Brute Force Edition. And it's Ubisoft, so there's probably a
Didn't Watch Dogs
season's
have
pass.
pretty high or insane? No, Call of Duty had high.
Not anywhere close to that. Call of Duty, that's always the case,
kind
though.
of insane.
Well, because the game wasn't optimized really well.
And I'm gonna post this image in the chat for you guys all to look at. Someone made like a little meme over on PC Master Race that made me laugh. It compares the console equivalent specs to the PC minimum requirements for Unity. You know, the 1.75 gigahertz APU with the 1310 gigaflop graphics card compared to the PC requirement of the 3000 gigaflop graphics card, and the 4 gigahertz Intel CPU with like 8 threads. Crazy.
What other games have come out with that high minimum specs?
Nothing.
There's going to be more and more, guys.
No, but Joel, that one's not like that one's lazy. What they're saying is the minimum specs for this game is a 2-generation old, top of the line card, like not mid-range card.
No, I know. I totally agree. I think
Okay.
it's frustrating that having a freaking PC, you need to have a 680 to play a game. I think you'll be able to play it on a lower than that. I think it's going to work.
I think you probably will be able to.
Oh, yeah.
Hopefully, it's more of just a farce, right? But let's
That's not
say
a
it
good
isn't.
marketing.
Let's say it isn't a farce. I mean, so far the gameplay I've seen from the game looks insane. The game looks
does.
amazing. It really does look gorgeous. It's got, I think it's got 10,000 or so people, like crowds. It's massive. You know, it's a massive game, right? Indoor buildings everywhere. It's ridiculous. Like, I think it's going to be an awesome, beautiful looking game. But let's think back even just a few years ago. Like, every console game, it seems like you have to have double or triple the general amount to play it. And I'm not talking for well-developed games and optimized, or even half well-developed games. You know, Steam games and everything work so well on like the most minimal amount of graphics, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
This is one of the arguments I always try to bring up, that I'm like, I love PC gaming, but I feel like you just get screwed over so much. Where, yay, I want to play Assassin's Creed. F. I got to have like an insane graphics card where I know I shouldn't have to. I'm like, my PS4 has way less than that, and it's going to run really good.
Well,
you know?
And the difference is, like, if Assassin's Creed Unity, if I thought it really had to have those specs to run well, I'd be like, awesome. Boy Blinky brought up in chat, was Crysis that bad at launch, relatively speaking? No, you could run Crysis on much lower settings and it ran okay.
I played it on a laptop.
If you wanted the true eye-bleeding, you've never seen anything this good in your entire life stuff, you needed top of the line, and people were happy to do it. So if Assassin's Creed Unity was the same way, it was like, guys, there'll be a 10,000 person crowd, every person's unique, you can hop into them, kill whoever you want, like... That would be a game-changing, game industry-changing experience. I'd be all on board, and I would say, sorry guys, if you can't handle it, you can't handle it. The same way I feel about Star Citizen. Star Citizen's going to have like recommended specs that are probably going to blow that out of the water. Like the recommended specs probably haven't even been made yet. But the reason for it, it's like, hey guys, this will be like one of the best graphics games that's ever been released ever, and it's a giant like open universe. Sorry, you got to pay to play.
And I would even say for that game is, you know, you have to have the high minimum specs for just graphics that it's not. That game is not mind-blowingly amazing looking, but it's the scope. But the scope is huge. Yeah. Like it's a great looking game, but I would say the graphics are better than even Assassin's Creed Unity. Like from what I've seen, like art style and everything, like it looks like it has a lot more going on in Unity. But the space game is massive, and planets and, you know, tons of other things. So it's not just only the ship models and things that you're thinking about. Right. So I can understand having to have a, you know, large hard drive, large amount of RAM, large, you know, GPU or whatever. Everything large.
It just feels like the recommended specs here are just laziness more than they're actual, like, we have to have these specs. It feels like, hey, with these specs, it'll actually run pretty well, and we don't have to put a lot of time into patching it. Remember Watch Dogs, those ungrateful PC gamers? Well, screw them.
Yeah. I would say, though, other than just jumping to conclusion on this, remember, this is the start of next-gen games, right? Yeah. I mean...
1 year later.
Well, hear me out on this, right? So we've been having PC games that are based off of console games that have 512 RAM, right? Mm-hmm. We have 16 gigs of RAM. That's ridiculous. Okay, no wonder we can run them so well. But the same way with even trying to run a freaking emulator like a PS3, like you have to have an insane CPU to run those things because it's hard to port stuff over like that over on a PC. Like you have to have an insane overhead. Well, now we just got the next jump.
But they're running x86.
Yeah, no, that is true. So I'm curious why we're doing that.
It's not like going from a cell to a x86.
We were told this will make ports so much easier. Yeah, it's probably true.
I think probably next year, as games start getting smoothed out on PS4 and Xbox One, how the development goes, they'll have a better way of.
Yeah, Joel, I think you're actually right there. I think what we're going to see is like for the maybe next year or so, a lot of ports are going to be rough because they're trying to get these next-gen games out more quickly, and they're getting more familiar with the hardware.
And they're harder to make. I mean, that's the reality of it. Like every article I seem to read in podcasts about games is their development size is like 3 times as large. If the new Halo, it's like every game they make, people are demanding that games look amazing. I saw, did you see that? It was some meme on Reddit somewhere it was just like a graphics comparison. One was like how gamers are nowadays. Showed an image of 007 GoldenEye and it was like, man, these graphics look awesome. They're so real. And then it was like GTA 5. It was like, these graphics look like shit. And I'm like, wait a second. Yeah, I think everyone's like grown such a, accustomed to games look so amazing, that every team's got to have an insane art team or whatever. But
yeah, no, it's true.
Well, as you approach,
connect to my rant a little bit later, Val.
I think the problem too, Joel, is as games approach closer to photorealism, the places where they miss, it's like the uncanny valley thing. Like you notice the mistakes more often the closer they get.
Yeah.
I mean, in GoldenEye, like those shapes were anything close to photorealistic, but you're like, my imagination can like fill in all the blanks here. Like I see how everything works. Like this is a table over here, and now I'm outside in the snow. Like I can see this. But now it's like, oh, the snow isn't like falling correctly on this texture because it looks almost so close to real.
And this is going to be 100% correlated to when VR comes out. Like reading about it, they said that if a game cannot hold 60 or 120 or whatever, the standard is, the game can look so amazing, the experience will be so good, but that one big glitch causes that headache. It goes out. And so, yeah, I mean, it's kind of crazy. That's why I think VR is going to do a little bit better on PS4 overall for the general masses, because I think it's going to be more controlled environment. But I'm going to have both because I want to experience awesome. I want to experience the whole world.
I think Sony can provide a better experience if they use all their peripherals well. But I'm afraid they're just going to see it. They're not going to see it as a game changer. They're going to see it as another thing.
Yeah, they keep saying they're waiting on...
Kind of like Kinect kind of just fizzled out.
A game changer, like the PlayStation Move.
Yeah, I mean those things are like, hey, well, we have to have motion controls.
Yeah.
Yep. We're not going to put anything behind it. Are they going to do the same thing with their VR? That's what
I think the best thing about the PlayStation Move is hopefully bundling it with the VR, because I mean it's an amazing controller if it's going to be for VR. But yeah, we'll see. I hope they said they keep waiting. They're only going to launch it once a couple good, amazing games are made for it. I think that's going to be the key thing. Come on,
all right. It is now time for one of my favorite parts of the podcast, the Potato Patch, where we go over everything happening in the world of consoles. Our first bit of news, amazingly cutting-edge game coming to Xbox 360. San Andreas, a game that is now 2 console generations old, is now coming to a 1 generation old console, the Xbox 360. Except wait, it actually was on the Xbox 360 already as part of the Xbox Originals classics you could buy through the Xbox Marketplace. As
they're calling this internally at Rockstar, wait, how much money can we make off this game?
They have pulled that version down, and I guess they figured since it's already on like iPads now, they could probably do a real port for the Xbox 360. So San Andreas will be coming out soon at 720p, because apparently running it at 1080p would just make the poor little Xbox 360 cry itself to death. So 720p San Andreas coming your way with achievements and exclusive secrets you can find throughout the map.
I wonder if they internally asked them to lock it at 720p.
I was wondering the same thing because of the photo texturing used in that game. I wonder if full HD, the building textures and all would look so smeared.
Yeah, I figured like they looked at it at 1080p and 720p and they're like, there's no difference, and it runs a lot smoother at 720p. And in HD, this game looks like crap because it was designed for the PlayStation 2. So
blur it.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I mean, that's one of the problems with the last standard definition generation was a lot of them don't hold up well at HD without extensive tweaking, just because they weren't designed to even have models that were that high resolution. So it's not really their fault. They were building it for the hardware they had at the time.
I have a tube TV for my old games.
Really? It makes it look better.
It does. It's drastically better. It's like, holy cow.
James, choke up on your mic a little bit. We have some complaints that we can't hear you.
Sorry, guys.
All right, our next bit of the potato patch is Star Citizen. You're like, Star Citizen? That's a PC exclusive. Yes, it is. And website gamingbolt.com, get a bolt of gaming now, is unhappy about it, and they have written an article called 15 Reasons Why Star Citizen Needs to Launch on PS4 and Xbox One, and we're going to go through the list together.
Yeah!
And this is one of those clickhole sites, so you have to click on every slide independently, and I'm sorry about that. Reason number 15, the console market is huge. The new gen consoles have a huge fan base as of now, and that has to work in favor of a game that is on to tackle such an immense audience.
Sorry, I think my brain just ran out of my nose trying to process that.
Basically, lots of people own consoles, guys. That's why you need to put it out on consoles.
Oh, I hadn't heard that.
That logic is undeniable.
Had no idea.
Cross-platforming. Reason number 14. Chris Robert has voiced his fears over having to make separate communities.
Where's this link?
If there's a console launch. I didn't have it. I forgot to include it. It need not be that way. Star Citizen won't be like other shooters in the market where having a keyboard and mouse gives you an automatic advantage over other means of input. Except, absolutely, yes it will. You're flying a freaking spaceship. Are you kidding? Anyway, cross-platforming is very much possible. It would not affect the game's experience across different platforms. That is absolutely untrue.
Wait,
And
they don't just want to port, they want cross-platform?
they want cross-platform. Guys, the mouse and keyboard people are going to be getting raped by the joystick people. When you're playing, you don't play flight simulators with a mouse and keyboard. You use a controller or you use a joystick. I have used a mouse and keyboard for the Arena Commander version of Star Citizen, and it works decently well. But no, the joystick people are going to be wiping you out. And no, cross-platforming absolutely would not work. Moving
Or
on to
Star
reason.
Citizen?
Yeah, cross-platform would not work.
Why? Why not?
Because you have these massive server loads that are going to be going on. You're not going to be able to connect a lower power. The Xbox One could not go up against a PC without massively cutting the game down, which Chris Roberts has said over and over. That's why it's not going to be on consoles, is this is my vision for a game, and a console just couldn't run it. If a console could run it, we'd put it on a console. It just can't. It's only going to be
what was
PC.
the name of this whole article in the first? Because I was
15
responding
reasons
to-
why Star Citizen needs to launch on PS4 and Xbox One.
Got it.
Number 13, supportive console devs. Apparently, Sony has taken the first step forward by giving Chris Roberts' team a PS4 dev kit to fiddle with. This shows an obvious interest in the game. Microsoft still hasn't followed suit, but there's still time for them to work up some strategy to try to have the game on their console too. Giving Chris Roberts one PS4 dev kit is not a step to getting the game on your console. It's a little more They're not like going to pop the game disc in and be like, oh, guys, it just booted up. Let's go ahead and put it on the PS4. It worked.
Isn't number 13 just basically like, you would feel really good about giving money to those developers and just helping out Microsoft and Sony?
Number 12 is called Skittish Console Fans. This makes no sense. Basically what they're saying is they'll be so appreciative if you put it out on the consoles. The console people will love you and they'll buy it.
Where is this article from?
Wasn't that number 1?
Gamingbolt.com.
Did you search 15 reasons Star Citizen?
All right. Reason number 11. Star Citizen is easily the largest ever crowd-funded project, and the amount of money that the project has accumulated has not only enabled them to make it to their stretch goals, but go way beyond that. So much so that the developers were not sure what they would do with all that money. With all that money at their disposal, Star Citizen is perfectly able to be on the next-gen consoles. Obviously, this person knows what everyone else doesn't. Without even bottlenecking the PC version of the game, if that would ever be the case. So they're saying because they made like $60 million on Kickstarter, they can completely fund this game, and it won't even bottleneck the PC version. Newsflash, $60 million is not that much for AAA game development. It's actually not very much at all.
They're only spending about $10 million to develop. The other $50 million is just sitting there. They're like, what do we do with all this money? What do we do?
They're trying to port it to the DS.
That's like almost offensive. They're saying like, it's perfectly able to be on the next new gen consoles. Oh, okay, Mr. Person who apparently can see behind the curtain and knows all. Why don't you go help a bunch of those other developers who have trouble with this? Obviously, you know. Number 10, consoles have a better spec to performance factor. That is usually true due to optimization. They say Star Citizen is essentially a PC game. By essentially, it is literally a PC game. But anyway, that would obviously include even the relatively average PCs that fall in the mid-range category, and the current gen consoles offer better performance over a PC of the same configuration. What they're saying is, some PCs are too slow to play this, even though it's on the PC, so consoles should get to play it.
I'm following the logic.
That's like saying, my passenger car is too slow to enter a NASCAR race, so you guys should let me enter my bicycle. It's like, nope, that's not how that works. It's not how any of this works. All right, number 9. Many Star Citizen investors are console users. A lot of people who through Kickstarter made Star Citizen the largest crowdfunded project are actually console users. With such overwhelming support, it would not be very fair to let the console users let out on the game. Yeah, 1, they don't know. 2, if people backed the game and didn't own a PC they could play it on, that's their problem. I don't know what you're supposed to do with that. Joel, you can go kill yourself. Reason number 8, testing the potential. If anything, Star Citizen on the new gen consoles Star Citizen on the new gen consoles can be very well way of testing what the consoles are actually capable of handling. Spoilers, not Star Citizen. This may even prompt the console developers to make their consoles not so static as they are today for consistently long periods of time.
One game's going to change the whole ecosystem, guys.
They'll let you download more RAM after this. Number 7, guys, it's getting better. Utilizing Kinect. Some may argue that the key bindings for Star Citizen may not be provided for by the console gamepads, but then again, we have the Kinect on the Xbox One that is more than capable of making a game like Star Citizen all the more immersive.
What does that mean? I mean,
you can use the Kinect to make up for all the buttons you don't have on a gamepad that you have on a keyboard. You can use the Kinect for that. So you can hold your hands and tilt them in the air.
I've not used the Kinect, the new Kinect.
Yeah, Kinect,
I've not
shoot,
used the new one,
Kinect,
the old
shoot.
one was slow. I mean,
the new Kinect is, everyone who has the new Kinect, I know, is like, oh good, they put out that patch that lets me disconnect it, and they never used the Kinect again, because it still doesn't work, because voice commanding things still is not that great of an idea. Sorry, Microsoft.
But they can do that on PC anyway, if they need to.
To do what?
Do voice commands?
They could, but they haven't because that's a bad way. Number 6, utilizing the PS4 camera. The PS4's camera hasn't been as extensively used as has been the case with Xbox's Kinect. The difference being not at all versus pretty much not at all. That is not to say the PS4
had cameras, guys.
That is not to say the PS4 camera is any less capable. It's definitely less capable than the Kinect. It keeps going. Reason number 5. Consoles need a space exploration game too. There haven't been many space exploration games in quite a while. While we were widening our eyes over what a nice presentation Mass Effect offered of our galaxy, Mass Effect is not... Yeah. Shh. There's no need for facts here. It comes nowhere near what Star Citizen presents to us. Actually, No Man's Sky is going to be quite a bit bigger. It'll be a particularly sour lemon to bite into for console owners if they don't get Star Citizen on the consoles. Well, start making lemonade, guys. You're not getting Star Citizen.
Here come the lemon analogies.
Project Morpheus, the first actually good reason on this entire list. Star Citizen would be incorporating virtual reality compatibility. What does that mean? That means Oculus Rift is going to steal the show. Yes, it does. Bear in mind, Sony's Project Morpheus is no less a contender for the same and presents an almost equally brilliant opportunity for Star Citizen to let the players experience the best of the game in a VR setup.
There's a lot of fluff words in this article.
There are.
Gosh.
For like 3-sentence long reasons for everything, there's a lot of extra words. But Project Morpheus is an actually good reason if the game could possibly run it. But
that would be more overhead, though, on top of the game, with no more hardware to play with for that overhead too.
Yeah. Number 3, more people, more fun. Since Star Citizen will feature a persistent universe, having players in such a huge world could be a problem that the developers have thought of. Thank you, Mr. Person writing the article. They've already addressed this. Having the game on the consoles would mean that much a larger number of players would be in any particular area than otherwise, hence bolstering interactions in the game's community experience overall. DayZ is a great reason why you don't need more people playing together, because they're all dicks to each other, and it's going to happen in Star Citizen. Just wait. All right.
I can't wait to be a dick in space.
Which is going to the console, though, DayZ.
What?
Which is going to the console, though.
Yeah, and if there's anything
Cross-platform.
Star Citizen does not need, it is Xbox Live's fan base. Number 2, the DualShock 4. The PS4 controller has a motion sensor that can substitute for a lot of key mashing in a game like Star Citizen, especially being helpful in vehicular navigation. That is most definitely not true. That's what Sony said when the PS3 came out, and then Lair came out, and then the 6-axis was never used for anything interesting ever again. It's not a terrible idea, but just like the Kinect, the motion sensor in a PS4 controller is not nearly good enough to control an entire vehicle of the type of controls you can do in Star Citizen. It's not, you don't just tilt things back and forth, but whatever. All right. Reason number one, the consoles are capable. That's not true, but we're going to keep reading the reason. The new gen consoles have tremendous capability as of now. Well, they're not going to change. These are the specs. Anyway, with the trending technology becoming obsolete in as much time as it takes you to take a leak trip to the bathroom, it is hard to say if the game would indeed make it to the platforms. No, it's not hard to say. It's not coming to the platforms. If the game were to be released within a few months from now, the game's not coming out for like a year and a half. The chances of the consoles handling the game would have been much better, as would have been of most above average PC owners. The fact that the game is to be released not until at least a year makes the prospects of a console launch bleak, if not entirely extinguished. They were extinguished already. They were never on fire. Right, when they said it's only coming out on the PC. There are a lot of hiccups in the way of the game going to any other platform than the PC, and that's justified in the fact that Roberts is trying to build a game that will set a new touchstone in many ways for the games of the generation, and many people are mad about it. That sentence ran an entire marathon. When you're building something as top-notch as what Roberts has had us believe, being unapologetic for some things doesn't qualify you to deserve any flack, but reverence, if anything. So he finishes his list by saying, but he has a vision for the game, and he should get to stick to it, which is why it should come to the consoles.
And your mic just went out.
It didn't. I had no words for that.
He lost his words.
So that just really entertained me, and I wanted to share it with you guys.
That was pretty good.
That's why 15 reasons why Star Citizen should come to the consoles. And now it is time for DayZ with DaveZ. The 60 seconds of the podcast where Dave gets to tell us what's new with DayZ. Dave,
it's not going to be 60 seconds.
I'm trying. Guys, we're in the wrap-up time section of the podcast, and we still have a couple things to go through, so that's why I'm going
to begin tonight by explaining how I became best friends with Dean Hall on Twitter. And we're basically best bros on Twitter now. I got retweeted today by Dean Hall and replied to, so I basically can die happy now.
Did he mash that like button on his way out?
He mashed the favorite button. That's right. Dean Hall likes me. Did you guys see that hilarious?
Did your heart flutter, Dave?
I just laughed really hard because it was a super cheesy joke. Did you see this one, Joel?
Yeah.
On Experimental, they had like the little text thing where if you tried to build a campfire in a small shed, they had the placeholder text that said, "You cannot do that here. Is not safety."
Yeah.
Just like some of that, intern poor grammar over at Bohemia.
But I'm saying when he retweeted it, did you not go kind of freak out just a little bit?
I laughed really hard because I didn't think he was going to.
And then called his mom, was like, "It's happening!" He printed out the tweet. It's already hanging above his desk.
Did you do a selfie in front of your screen?
I knew I forgot to do something. And then tag him in it. That's nice, right there.
Dave's, whose idea was that?
Whose idea was what?
What? Whose idea was it to tweet that?
To actually send it to him? It was your idea. I came up with the tweet. I stole the joke from Reddit, though. Anyway, so that was fun. Basically, Dean Hall's apartment caught on fire, and the tweet that he originally posted made me laugh really hard. That almost should have been a comment of the week. He said that he had some water coming through his ceiling, and he called down to the front desk of his, row house complex, and they're like, "Why are you still in there? The building's on fire. The water is from the fire department." He's like, "Oh, well, I guess I'll come outside." So then he tweeted a photo of, outside with all the fire trucks in downtown. I think it's Prague.
Does that mean they're going to delay again?
DayZ's delayed because Dean Hall's apartment caught on fire. And
sorry, render engine.
Just to reference that ridiculous text message, I just tweeted him and said, "Get back, Dean, is not safety," which is a super stolen, super cheesy joke, and that's what we got retweeted. But going back to Experimental in this week's DayZ with DayZ, there's no real news. There's some minor stuff
moving on then.
Good time.
There's some stuff going on with farming and whatnot on Experimental, but it's just initial testing. But Joel mentioned last week that it's kind of fun to go back and listen to those initial podcasts talking about DayZ. So occasionally I'm going to bring up ridiculous bugs from DayZ Experimental where they're just testing systems just so we can look back. And this week I'm going to talk briefly about BootGate. So you guys remember when they first added temperature to DayZ and Experimental, you would like, get hot while wearing a coat in like
that was only like
1
a
minute
month and a half ago.
It was August.
Do you guys remember that one time? Like 6 weeks ago.
August
just
or
happened.
a month and a half ago.
But I'm talking specifically on Experimental before it went to stable, when it was the placeholder system,
Right.
where it was ridiculous. Like for testing purposes, it was accelerated, so you would get super overheated really fast. They finally added, and this is why I'm calling it BootGate, wear and tear to your shoes. However, for the purposes of testing, because obviously in game your shoes are going to last for hours and hours, your shoes last for like 10 minutes before they're totally ruined. So I'm seeing screenshots of people running around with like an inventory not full of ammo, not full of food, but full of boots and like running
What
shoes.
happens to you if your boots wear out? Like, what's the downside?
If your boots wear out, you're actually beginning to get like injured on your feet. Like you have like messages at the bottom like, my feet are starting to ache, my feet are killing me, and then you actually slowly start to lose health over time if you
Shouldn't
run
that be
around.
the whole game? I mean, I can't run that much in real life.
Yeah,
Really?
you can't like with one of those giant backpacks in your back full of 80 pounds of equipment. You're just sprinting up a hill through the woods.
Imagine the sound that would make all the stuff rattling around. But yeah, the system works pretty well. They're actually taking into effect like different surfaces like pavement, rough rocks, beach, grass. But for now, DayZ Experimental is like a shoe shopping simulator that I'm going to dub BootGate. Joel, you know you want to hop in right now and collect shoes with me. I mean, that just sounds like fun.
Can't wait.
All right, Dave, moving on.
The very last thing, I'm actually answering here just a slight question that I think, Jeremiah, you had last week, asking whatever happened to that disease system they were talking about, like before the alpha ever came out last year. One of the devs was actually answering a question from someone about the food system on Reddit today. The person was saying, like, why don't we have more nutrition tracked? So, like, if you eat nothing but, baked beans, doesn't do good things for your immune system and your diet. And the dev said that we already have a nutritional index for every item of food and drink. And in the future, they're going to, already right now, it's then calculating, like, your immune system strength. And then they already have that disease system, the framework in place. And once that's turned on, the game will track different diseases like cholera and all kinds of, maybe even Ebola, all kinds of horrible things. And it'll track
Ebola,
from,
if we're lucky.
Yeah, come on, Ebola.
I'm rooting for it.
It'll track it from player to player contact. So, please guys, don't sneeze on me in game, as well as diseases getting stuck on items. But the cool part is it'll actually use that nutritional value for the food to see how strong your immune system is to resist these different diseases. So if you literally just eat, nothing but baked beans and your immune system is crap, then you probably will catch Ebola and cholera from Joel. But I think it was you. It'll be Joel. Joel will be a carrier, I'm sure.
No,
Jeremiah, was it you who were asking about?
For me.
Was it you, Jeremiah, who was asking about the diseases like a few weeks back? I can't remember now who it was, but somebody.
That sounds like something I would have asked about, but no, I don't think I did.
It was actually me. I was listening to some old podcast because I was having a hard time sleeping, so I was like, "Yeah, let's do the podcast." It'll bore me to sleep.
Was it Fable 1 where your physique changed based on what kind of food you ate in the game?
Yeah. No, I think it might have been Fable 1. I know Fable 2 had it, but I don't know if Fable 1 had it. But yeah, you'd have to eat lots of carrots and celery.
If you eat like a lot of sweets and stuff, you like start getting a little groove.
I did. I just went around to the bakeries eating so many cakes. I was just
That's awesome.
I'll take on the kingdom.
The what? I'll take on the kingdom.
And that's been DayZ with DayZ.
You forgot to actually give the actual good news that came out today. Was they already have the testing of a new control system? Thank God. At some point.
Oh, did you actually read that? I sent that to you this morning, and
no,
you never
I found
responded.
it on my own. I found it on my own. I didn't actually read it from
He
you.
ignored you and then went out and found it. So.
And then ignored me some more.
No, they're redoing how things work so that the game feels good. I'm glad that the guy actually recognized the game doesn't feel good. Like, that's a good thing to know, like, that they actually can recognize that. Because that's actually what scares me the most about DayZ, is they have these big, grandiose ideas, but I feel like they don't recognize, the game doesn't feel like an actual 2014 game. Like, not even close. And I feel like it's just skipping over, like, oh no, it is. We got graphics, guys, and nice high-res textures. Like,
well, we'll have graphics soon.
yeah. Maybe.
I feel like it really needs emotional controlling.
I really feel
nice emotional controls, Joel.
Just really
well, on a PS4, if I was developing, I would have the sounds of your character come out of the little control.
Dude, I hate that so much. I played Infamous. The sound effects from that controller were so tinny and flat most of the time. I found them super distracting and annoying.
It's got to be used sparingly. You can't use it. Like the Wiimote when it would be like bling bling.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of the sounds coming through the controller. It's kind of dumb. Like if I wanted a 2-point surround sound system, I could just stick one of my speakers behind me.
Just to counter Joel's remarks about the control system, like I completely agree. It needs to feel more like an actual game. My only concern with a redo of the control system, obviously the clunkiness is a problem, but I'm also worried about the game losing its grounded feeling and becoming a bunny hopping survival game.
No, it doesn't need that. It just needs to feel more like Last of Us. That control scheme
exactly.
Was perfect. It was slow paced. You could aim well. It worked well and it felt smooth. It wasn't like the hands. Mm-hmm. What is with the hands with aiming? You lift up a freaking rifle and it's like that's how it is. It's like who moves like this? Like it's just
because
retarded. There's
no blending right now. They're changing the skeleton right now to allow blending of animations. They were talking in the was it like the weekly report today too, that once they have that blending for animations, you'll be able to do anything at the same time as anything else. So like you run while eating an apple, and if you like cancel and do something else, like you'll stop eating that apple. You don't scroll and hit cancel. When you stop doing that motion, you just smoothly transition to the next animation to do the next thing, like drop the apple and pull your gun out. It'll just all blend together. But the game I was going to say, Joel, I'm glad you brought up Last of Us, but I was going to say, although it's not perfect, ARMA 3 made huge strides over ARMA 2 for making the game feel less clunky. It's a lot more responsive. You have more positions for your character, but it still feels very grounded. Like I don't think in DayZ we need to be bunny hopping over stuff. Maybe a Battlefield vault system might work, but
they could just add good.
If I can jump up and grab a ladder, maybe, or just jump straight up.
But in real life,
like if it could work like GTA when you go to your building and you just climb up. But it's
work.
Not just that, Dave. It's not just that. It's even in ARMA 3, in ARMA and DayZ especially, they don't think about overall how the entire system works together. They don't. Like it's not there in the game. And here's what I mean, right? You put on a freaking coat, right? Mm-hmm. They don't think, oh hey, this texture's way too high, so when you look over here, you're cutting into the texture of the coat, right? That is not really well made, right? It's simply not, all right? Like someone like Last of Us they wouldn't make that mistake in a game. Like it just wouldn't happen.
The exact thing your issue you're referring to there, Joel, is the clipping on the raincoat and the puffy jacket, right? In first person camera.
And there's other ones too. I mean, like there's other backpacks you see things rising above your shoulders.
The backpacks are intentional. The mountain backpack is actually supposed to block your view in first person.
I'm not talking about blocking. I'm saying
you're talking about it clipping through the clothing.
It clips through stuff.
Clipping.
It's not built really high polish. It's like, they're adding features in, but every feature they add in is not polished. With
twice in the last 2 months, they've actually edited the skeleton. They took like a little bit of weight actually off the male skeleton to help prevent some of those clipping between coats and pants and stuff like that. And a lot of that has to do with tweaking the skeleton. And you're going to see new items of artwork that are going to have clipping issues until they figure out a perfect average by the end of the game to make all those items work. And that's just a part of it being work in progress.
I'm not worried about clipping personally. I just don't care. I mean, I know it
is distracting, especially in first person.
But that's alpha. That's alpha to me. Mm-hmm. What's not alpha is poor mechanics. Like you don't release necessarily an alpha.
Yeah, I mean, like
with
you go to vault over stuff.
Your actual motion's kind of sucking.
How many times have you guys
your actual motion's kind of sucking, James?
And you're running, and it goes from vaulting to the slow vault over, like it happens all the time where like it sometimes jumps
it's not consistent at all.
Yeah, you just never can tell when it's going to work and stuff.
Well, they're well aware.
If you don't want bunny hopping, Dave, then start adding fatigue.
That's coming too. Fatigue is coming.
Well, I'm saying, but you can't jump 10 times in a row and not like want to fall on the ground and die.
Yeah, well, I mean, Joel's talked about stuff too before, like jumping onto cars, which I think climbing onto cars is a good idea, but the jump should be like 2 feet, especially if you have a pack. You shouldn't be able to bunny hop.
You can kind of do a jump step onto a car, like at least the hood.
A vault or a climb, I think, is the key.
I'm going to step in here and say we're going to stop arguing about this and move on. because it doesn't really that matter. And now we've spawned arguments in the chat, which should never be the goal. So I know you guys aren't intending to have an argument, but can we agree this isn't a big enough deal that we need to argue about it?
No, it's not. It's not arguing. All right, it's just fun to talk about.
Then we're moving on.
I love you, Joel.
I feel like we've already argued enough this podcast. Like we're a little far in the negative. We need to swing back over into the positives.
This just binds us together.
That's true.
It's
like a ring of binding.
Like a ship of fools sailing to hell.
This is something I told Dave the other day. I've never been so frustrated with a game in my life. And the reason why is not because I hate DayZ. It's because I wanted to succeed so badly. It frustrates me so much that the game
Why do you make me beat you?
Yeah, exactly. It's like I want to love it so much. I can't wait to get there. And it's I was excited
love
about.
To hate it too, though, Joel. Don't lie. You love to rant about it.
Well, no, it is hilarious finding out when they go, "Hey guys, we got a backpack in." You like put a backpack on, it explodes. You die. That's hilarious. No, but this recent article and the update made me really excited that they really are noticing. The controls are not good. I'm like, yay! Because before, when they weren't updating the mouse controls and just the general movement, I was like, oh, come on, people. How did you guys not notice mouse acceleration is horrible in a game like this? You know, I'm just surprised that people who develop only on PC, that they don't fix that. And when they did, I was like, oh, thank you, Lord, that, you know, they noticed that and they fixed it. So
how much of that is the ARMA mindset?
It probably, I don't know.
Not fixing that stuff, Dave.
But there's like so many PC games.
Sorry, I was answering your question in the chat. Say again.
I don't understand, but
that their inability to fix certain things. How much of that is the ARMA mindset?
Bohemia
not inability, but not paying that much attention to it.
Bohemia is rapidly getting away from just saying, like, guys, we can't fix this. And I think it's because they finally had the resources to spend a lot of time. Like, look at the support for ARMA 3 post-launch compared to ARMA 2.
Way better, yeah.
I mean, these guys, and I read an article, I think it was last year, about Bohemia studio history and their break from, was it Codemasters, Jeremiah, when it was Operation Flashpoint? They were destitute when they broke off from Codemasters. The ARMA series was like barely keeping food on their table, and so for so long, they're not completely like oblivious to the main problems in the ARMA series and the DayZ Alpha, but they've had just really limited resources. And DayZ and the success of ARMA 3 now, with well over 1 million copies sold, it's helping to change that. The stuff like shooting out of vehicles in ARMA 3, people have been asking for that since Operation Flashpoint 1. And it was a huge, complicated issue. And finally, this year, they sat a team down and said, look, you guys are going to make shooting from cars a reality. And they spent 6 months solving it, a very complicated issue. And it's going to be coming out on stable ARMA 3 very, very soon. At which point, Jeremiah will make so many drive-by missions.
What makes it complicated compared to so many other games?
So mechanically, within their engine, it just being able to shoot out of a vehicle for some reason really messes stuff up in the engine. Like the way their cars work and stuff. I don't know.
Quick answer, 30 seconds. The rigging of the cars is very complicated. Their tool set up through ARMA 3 has been very, very old, so their tools are old. The rigging is complicated, and then like just the game itself is simulating a lot. Ballistics, character animation, it's a full body skeleton. There's just a lot going on, and so for each individual vehicle, they've had to carefully test and configure and rig every seat that you can shoot from, which is why, to start out with, there's only a few vehicles you can shoot from. It's just, for now, it's a complicated issue, but they were able to put the resources down and solve it.
All right. It is now time for the Singularity Shame section, a portion of the podcast.
Part of the podcast.
Where we pull up somebody who needs to be shamed a little bit for something stupid they've done this past week, and we haul them in front of you for a solid drubbing in front of our massive audience. This is courtesy of GamerHeadlines.com, which sounds like a really sketch site, but this is a real story. A property developer based in Dubai, their name is Visionary Property.
Oh boy.
They had some artwork up online for their real estate project called the Dubai Metro City Project. It was featured in the 2014 Cityscape property event in Dubai. They've billed their project as the following: a futuristic urban hub combining business, retail, residential, and visitor attractions and facilities. The city project would be a unique, eco-aware designer city, would cover 200 million square feet, potentially house 40,000 residents, and be done in 2017. Which, if that sounds
fast,
a little bit too good to be true, Abdul Al-Turk, the chairman of the Dubai Metro City Project, stated the company had worked with the world's most renowned architects in preparing the images. Turns out those world-renowned architects were probably Maxis, Because they stole SimCity screenshots.
Their world-renowned architects were like some college student on his laptop.
It's
Guys,
not
look at my
untrue.
city.
They're world-renowned.
They're world-renowned game designers. Previously world-renowned game designers. Now world-infamous game designers.
Dab and twist.
Yeah, they just stole screenshots from SimCity. And not even the good SimCity. They stole it from the 2013 SimCity. Come on,
At least
guys.
it looks good. It looks good at least.
It does look pretty. And
Now
it does
I
look
ask-
like a city of the future. But it's weird because they said it was going to be 200 million square feet, so they can't really show that in the SimCity screenshot. Am I right, guys?
Shots fired.
So what happens if they actually built the city?
Well, they've had to admit that it's not true. If they actually built
What
it,
if they did? I mean, did they get sued for copyright?
I don't know. Max just has to be sitting there going, guys, do we get money? Do we get money from? I mean, Dubai has a lot of money. Like someone gets money, right? And EA's like, somebody does.
So, as a 3D artist who's had things that I have designed just to look pretty be built in real life with very little input from me, but input I hope from an actual architect, I would imagine that some poor Marxist like designer who just has fun making building models would be a little weirded out that like someone was actually building this for people to live in, like across the world. I'd be like, I wash my hands of this. Like, it just looks cool. Like, the 3D model is hollow. It's polygons.
That is one funny side note there. Dave had sent me like stuff he's designed before. He's like, here's a bridge that's going to be used to go over this section of roadway. Look how cool it looks. I designed this. I was like, oh, cool. So like you design it and send it off to the engineers? And Dave's like, you'd think so.
I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know about any bridges or balconies or entranceways or stadiums or seating or overhangs or walkways or tunnels.
Those definitely have not been designed by 3D artist / definitely not an engineer or architect, Dave.
I mean,
like, I think I said when I looked at it, I was like, Dave, no
I don't know what you're
offense.
talking about.
I would not use you as the final authority on whether or not this bridge should be built. No offense.
I
Good
just
with no weight.
The textures
mean-
are great.
if I were to be involved in such things, you know, if that were to be real, maybe, I would hope that after I stopped hearing back, that at some point in the middle, like, it went to an engineer. But all I know is
An engineer who made no changes, just built it as is, going, yeah, that 3D artist, he knows his stuff. She's good to go.
It looks real, so it must be buildable.
Well, I mean, come on, guys. Like, is scale really that important? Like, as long as it looks good, who needs scale?
And that's
I
been
would
the
hate-
Singularity Shame segment.
I'd hate to go to a roller coaster tycoon built park.
And this is the 20G corner, which you go around at 400 miles an hour on a completely flat turn. It's right by the corn dog stand. The corn dogs are
Safe,
free.
it worked in the game.
You've eaten 7 of them. They're flying over the park goers now. That's okay, because the admission tickets are only 25 cents, but each ride costs $10. And once people go in the park, the exit doesn't exist anymore. Congratulations, everything's flooding. You got dropped on an island. You can't leave.
Welcome to hell. Buy your ticket.
And that's why pure capitalism is a little bit evil. All right, it is now time for 90 Seconds with Joel, the part of the podcast where Joel talks about whatever he wants and we argue about it with him. Totally unlike the rest of the podcast.
We're actually probably not going to argue with him this time.
We may not argue with him this time. Joel.
Before I go on to the big reveal, I first want to... Have you guys seen this before? Have you heard of this game? I'm dropping the link. Dropping it on.
Kingdom Come Deliverance, yeah.
Yeah. Well, look at the graphics of this game. It looks
Yeah, it looks pretty
phenomenal.
awesome. Yeah, it does.
And the game map is... The developer said it's going to be about the size of Oblivion, maybe a little bit bigger.
That's pretty impressive.
That's pretty large. But this is going to have a lot of stuff, and they said the gameplay-wise is going to be very much like Red Dead Redemption, with live things kind of happening, like quests and stuff like that. So this game is exciting. But looking at this going, I hope DayZ one day can look like this. That's what I hope the render can help make the game look like. Because
They need some edge blending on that vegetation.
Yeah, look at
gosh.
look at how far you can look.
We
at.
might
Look
argue.
out though.
Yeah,
It
I mean,
looks
this looks pretty good.
Yeah, this game.
It
looks,
really needs some edge anti-aliasing, but it looks good.
All right, and now what's the big reveal, Joel?
I want to talk about cannibalism. I had an experience just recently.
I'm going to say I bet a lot of people expected a different reveal.
Do I need to mute this so I can lie in court?
You have my attention.
You had my attention. Now you have my interest.
So I was filming an interview 2 days ago, a video where I work, and went to a new medical building, right? Mm-hmm. And we were waiting for someone to show up to do the interview, and we literally sat there for about 2 hours waiting. So this one guy who works there got the interview for us. He said, "Hey, do you want to go take a tour around the new medical facility?" I was like, "Sure." I was kind of bored, so I just left my camera sit in his office, and we just walked around. And this guy's been working there since it opened for like I don't know, maybe it's like eight or 9 months or a year. He's totally used to all the stuff that goes on here, right? So we're just walking through rooms. We just open a door, walk right in, and before I realize it, cadavers everywhere, right? Like everywhere. There's this
Suddenly cadavers.
There's a guy with headphones in, like stripping skin off a person, right? And I've seen dead people before. I've seen at funerals and stuff like that, like, nice, in a casket and
with
everything.
Skin.
Yeah, with skin. Have any of you guys seen an actual, like, straight up dead person, like, skin peeled off, like...
Not skin peeled off, no. Where do you think I live?
Think of the movie The Mummy. Like, when the mummy first got resurrected and they had no skin? I mean, that is exactly how it looked. It was weird, but the guy he opened. He goes, he's like, he goes,
User joined your channel.
Hey, I'm sorry. I probably should have asked you if this is all right with it. And I told James we like the show Supernatural. I was like, you know what? I'm gonna channel the Sam and Dean right now. I'm just an FBI agent, just walking. I'm just gonna pretend I'm totally okay with this. When inside, I'm like, I feel like I'm gonna get sick in a couple seconds. But I was like, no, I'm gonna say yes to this. So I walked in. People were like, I mean, it was the grossest thing I've ever seen. Like, people had their hands like reaching inside, like right on the front where the nuts are, and just peeling stuff back, like tendons. And he picked up the knee and he's like moving the knee into the joints. Oh, he peeled off the front of the kneecap. And he was like, "Hey, do you ever want to see what this looked like?" And I'm like, and I was like, I am not going to show fear here, because I was like, this is gross, So I was like, oh yeah, I've always wanted to look. And I was like, the smell was really nasty. I mean, it was really, really awful. But then, I was like, I secretly wanted to be like, can we please leave? But I was like, no, I'm not. I'm going all in. The guy
to the cadavers.
Yeah.
Going all into the cadavers.
So he pulls out plastic gloves. And he puts them on. He starts touching. He's like, he hands me a pair of gloves. I was like, what is he expecting me to like touch? I was like, all right, put it on. And I'm just
wait. You do it like that. Like you're going.
Hey there, Mr. Man.
It's like a puppet.
No. I looked up the arm. I could tell it was a really, really old lady. And oh man, it was a weird experience.
You don't say.
But okay, but
circle this back around to cannibalism in a way that doesn't make me call the cops, please.
Okay. To be honest, I mean, you know what like chicken looks like, and the dark meat on chicken looks like, right?
Yeah.
Like, especially think of the dry after it's been sitting out on a day.
I'm learning things I didn't want to learn.
100%. If someone cut a piece off of that, put it on a plate, and if it didn't smell nasty, and no one told me, I would have thought it's chicken, 100%. And I was thinking, as I was sitting there, I'm like, if I was terribly hungry, like starving to death, there was some dead person, I was like that bad. I was like, I can kind of understand cannibals now.
That's the first thing
they
you
freaking
thought
look
of?
like chicken. I was like, what the crap?
Joel's not fascinated by the intricacies of the way the human body is made. No, he's thinking about, I can eat that.
Who cares how it works? That looks pretty edible.
I'm just saying, it was the weirdest thing, because it was like, people like listening to iPods, like music, just cutting away. And I'm like, I had some respect to those people, because I'm like, those are the people that have to do this craziness to understand. So when you have a broken leg and they go in, they know how to fix it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wow. But it was crazy. But like, yeah, like it freaking looked like chicken. Like, it was really odd. Like, I pulled up this flap of skin on a stomach, and it was just like, am I really doing this right now?
What did you have for lunch?
I will tell you, it's funny. I didn't feel sick, and I was curious because there's very little times in life that I feel like you go into environments where you go, all right, I'm actually a brave person, or no, I'm definitely a pansy, you know? And going in there, I was really expecting to throw. Like, I was like, whoa, I thought I was going to get sick, right? I did fine. And I'm like, wait, what kind of person am I? I didn't get sick or anything. But then it was about 2 hours later, all of a sudden I started getting sick. And it wasn't horrible, like I was going to throw up. But I wasn't sure if I was just hungry or whatnot. But it was like, I think it was more the smell got to me. And it was like, started things to click. Like, you're just sitting there, and it's a dead person. And they had a little blanket over the people's faces. Because it's like, it's weird. But I did ask, they said, at medical school, it's after once you're there for 2 months, that's when you cut a person open. Like, you have to. That's when they make you do it. But it's like skin on a person.
After 3 months, they let you cut a dead person open.
They said that's the hardest part because it's like full skin. It looks like a person. But this, it looked like a zombie. It was weird.
And now,
just thought I would share that with you guys.
No context. Welcome to the podcast. Welcome back to the podcast, Chris.
Hello, everybody.
If you heard the TeamSpeak join noise like 2 minutes ago, Chris probably has been sitting here the whole time thinking, what on earth is he talking about? Joel
that was a good time to come in.
He got to go tour a medical facility and got to play with some cadavers. And Joel says he could be a cannibal. That was his intro to this.
Yeah, Joel, I like how your takeaway, like, you get to visit this new state-of-the-art medical facility, and your immediate takeaway isn't like, the human body is amazing, like, I could be a doctor, I could handle this. You're like, I could eat all these people so easily.
You know, liver doesn't look so bad.
Give me some barbecue sauce, a little bit of ranch dressing.
I never would have thought that. That was the least thing in my mind. I was thinking, I'm going to throw up.
Apparently not.
Oh my gosh, people look like chicken, and I understand if I was so hungry. Like, I can maybe eat that.
People, like, the chicken of the land.
A little bit of barbecue sauce.
Joel's gonna start walking by people being like, I'd eat that.
James, it made me think of the It's Always Sunny episode when Charlie and Dee think they're they go into the morgue. And I was, so funny. I was just like,
Did you take a hot plate, Joel?
Oh,
what's like? You're actually seeing like the good part. Like, people actually work in the morgue get to deal with all kind of like actually scary stuff, like bodies that'll just kind of like sit up on their own, and like they'll make noises. Like, they'll just make noises.
Oh man,
I don't think you'd eat that.
Could you imagine? Like, they're like, "Hey, Joel," like, no need. I just grab them.
And I feel like with that, I better direct this podcast in a different direction. Which that sentence didn't really make a whole lot of sense. But
Joel's all set for cannibalism and DayZ. Like, he's mentally prepared.
I told you, it's the way to mentally prepare yourself for the apocalypse.
It's now time for the comment of the week, where Dave strides into the medical center of the internet and cuts open a dead, rotting corpse and pulls out an old decaying organ with maggots crawling through it. And then reads it to us in the segment we call the comment of the week.
Otherwise known as Joel's dinner.
This one actually, I laughed pretty hard at this. This one was pretty clever. This is a comment on one of my Total War episodes where I had actually built the USS Constitution a few episodes earlier, and it was sailing around in one of my navies, and I had like 6 navies going at the same time, and I couldn't find the Constitution. So in the video, I just remarked like, man, like, I know I built the USS Constitution, and I can't find it anywhere. So our comment of the week comes in, and he quotes me in the video, "I can't find the Constitution. It's here somewhere." And then he just goes, "Nice Obama quote." So he gets points for a little clever political joke. I found that mildly amusing. Well played.
And with that,
not as much decaying corpse comment this week.
Yeah, that's true. But I had that analogy.
Cannibal-Cast.
They're ready to go.
Cannibal-Cast.
Well, we have the title of the episode. So
that's gonna get views.
Clickbait. Wait, we should call it 15 Reasons Why Joel Could Be a Cannibal.
It's like
he
Facebook
only needs one.
He only needs one. It's there.
I didn't throw up. You can eat it.
It's a low bar.
My conscience says it's okay.
It looks like chicken. All of it.
I don't feel sick right now. It's edible.
Well, Chris,
none of you guys donate your bodies. Just let you know.
No one was going to. No one was volunteering. It was like, wait, oh man, if you say
I still want
so.
to use it for a little longer.
Yeah, James, I mean, you're only about 2/3 of the way through your life. You got a couple good years left in you.
That's okay. Tall people die sooner. You're gonna have some rare bone disease or something.
What? That's kind of mean. I don't even know what that means.
Come on, James. Tall people do die sooner, but monsters get killed by a mob far sooner than that. The raging peasant mob.
The raging peasant mob can't reach me. Don't be stupid.
Can I close this week?
You can, but first I want to talk to Chris for just a second because he did hop in like midway through stupidity and has been sitting here very politely, probably thinking, well, that's why I left.
He joined really late in stupidity. Actually, we had stupidity the whole podcast.
For Chris, for anyone who has noticed that you haven't been on the podcast for about 10 months now, could you give people leaving super personal details out, of course, could you give everyone like a 10-second synopsis of your life over the past year?
Yeah, I got married and got busy.
He got married and got busy. Straight from Chris is about. Well. James, can you hum Let's Get It On?
I can't.
Sorry, Chris. Race to the bottom
I
of the
haven't
jokes.
been gaming as much.
Yeah. Chris hasn't been gaming as much, but we still
Until
all
the
love him very
Minecraft
much.
server went up.
Until the Minecraft server went up, and then he came sniffing around again. He's like, I'm sorry, I heard there were some drugs. Were there some drugs over here? I'd like to try the drugs.
Minecraft? Twitch. That and our 13
Just that
gigs of
itch I
ARMA.
can't stop scratching.
Well, yeah, welcome back, Chris. Obviously, we're not expecting you to be on every week, but thank you for dropping in. I know you're actually just here to play ARMA with us in a couple of minutes, but
I was
you're not
going to say,
on the spot.
besides
Even
Minecraft.
at 9:45.
Well,
But hello, podcast nation.
there was a brief discussion about Apple earlier in the podcast.
It's all explained.
That's it.
And then there was also a brief discussion about consoles. We had a couple brief detours.
This is one of our longest podcasts.
Probably.
I'm at 1 hour and 55 minutes.
And with that, James, bring us home.
Do you want to give all the email us at this and that? And
Yes, absolutely. If you
Yes,
want
send
to
us
support
mail,
the podcast on Patreon, go to patreon.com/Casual Shenanigans Gaming. If you want to write into the podcast, casualshenanigans@gmail.com. You can write in with your PC build advice. You can write in with your questions, comments, all kinds of other things. We will read them on the air unless they're stupid, in which case we will not read them on the air. But you are welcome to send them in. We welcome all mail. Thank you for rating us in iTunes. We've noticed more iTunes ratings. That helps drive us up in the rankings. And thank you for listening to the podcast. The podcast is steadily growing month after month, and we greatly appreciate that. You can, of course, follow us on Twitter at Casual Shenaniga, at Germ Gaming, at Evil Viking. And you can follow Dave and I on YouTube at Evil Viking 13 and Germ Gaming. And James, over to you.
stay cannibal.